Has a loved one recently been arrested for domestic violence, more specifically, strangulation? If you have a loved one facing domestic violence strangulation charges, stick around. I think you're going to love this video. My name is Dod. I've been a criminal defense attorney here in San Diego County since 2004. My firm is Dod Law. We're located right here in downtown San Diego. We're a few blocks from the downtown courthouse. We also have an office up in Vista. We serve downtown San Diego. We serve Chula Vista. We serve Vista, and we serve El Cajon. Today I'm going to talk about a very sensitive topic, and that is domestic violence, specifically strangulation. Now, this is a serious problem in our country right now, and in fact, recent studies have shown that if you're in a relationship where you've been strangled at least once, you have a 750% more likely chance of dying, being murdered by strangulation. Think about that. If you've been strangled once, your chances of being strangled and killed are 750% more times likely. It's a very serious problem in our country. I deal with a lot of these cases here at my firm. And what happens, and it typically happens in a pretty volatile domestic violence situation. And typically back in the day, we used to call these cases choking, right? But as the literature and as they started doing more research on these cases, they really changed the name to strangulation. And typically what happens is once you are a victim of strangulation, you go to the hospital and they're going to do a series of MRIs and CT scans on you. They're going to check your neck. They're going to check all the internal muscles of your neck. They're going to check your eyes. They're going to check your ears. They're going to check your head. And they're going to see if there's any internal findings. They're also going to look for everything, external. So what I'm here to talk about today is what happens if you're accused of strangulation. Now, typically, depending on the severity of the strangulation, the DA's office can charge it as an attempted premeditated murder. You're facing life. An attempted premeditated murder here in California is 7 to life. They could also charge it as an assault and a gross bodily injury allegation, which your max, could be anywhere from 5, 6, 7 years. It really all depends on what kind of deal you're able to work out with your attorney. Now, the main goal in any domestic violence strangulation case, when you're charged with attempted murder, is to beat the attempted murder charge, because the attempted murder charge carries life, 7 to life, if it's premeditated, willful, and deliberate. What does that mean? That means you do 7 years and you're eligible for parole at 7 years, and that can go on for the rest of your life. So it's called baby life, 7 to life. So if you're convicted of attempted murder, you're facing 7 to life. Now, as a defense attorney, most of these cases go to a preliminary hearing, and we have to have the victim testify. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to negate our client's intent to kill, right? Because in order to be found guilty of an attempted, premeditated, willful, and deliberate murder, our clients have to have the intent to kill. And we have to show that this was heat of passion, this was a sudden quarrel, that this was just emotions running high, and a lot of times there's alcohol intoxication involved. And your attorney and you can look into the case, and you can look into the jury instructions on voluntary intoxication. And typically voluntary intoxication negates your specific intent. What does that mean? So if you're so drunk that you're unable to form the intent, then a jury could come back and render a not guilty verdict on the strangulation, attempted murder, premeditated, willful, and deliberate charge, which carries 7 to life. So that's the main charge. your attorney is going to try to beat if you're charged with an attempted murder in these types of cases. So we argue, number one, you didn't have the intent. Were you completely intoxicated, on medication? Was this just some sudden heat of passion fight? Was the victim in the case the initial aggressor? If the victim was the initial aggressor and you grab somebody by the neck to push them down, that's a possible, self-defense argument we can also make. What your attorney is going to have to look at is the forensic exam. Now, in California, there are specific forensic nurses that deal with these domestic violence, sexual assault, strangulation types of cases, and they have a huge checklist of things that they're going to put together. And what you need to do with your attorney or your loved one's attorney is go over that checklist and see what the victim did not have. For example, in a severe strangulation case, I would expect to see left petechial hemorrhaging in the left eye. I would expect to see in the right eye petechial hemorrhaging. And if petechial hemorrhaging is not present, that could be an indicator that the amount of force that was used may not be sufficient to give rise to a guilty verdict for attempted murder. Were there injuries to the ears? Were there blood in the ears? What about the nose? What about the mouth? You have to look at all the injuries that the forensic nurse documents on the actual strangulation worksheet. And you're also going to have to look at all the MRI of the neck, the CTs of the head. And, the common misconception is, well, if there's no injuries to the muscles of the neck, therefore strangulation didn't occur. And that's absolutely false. That theory's been debunked. You can literally choke somebody out in a few seconds and not leave any marks inside the neck. And also what your attorney is going to have to do is look at the actual physical findings on the outside of the neck. Are there finger marks? Is there redness? Is there puffiness? Is there something to corroborate that somebody's hands were actually around the neck? Is there something to corroborate a ligature? Was there a cord used? Or was there other item used that could be, attributed to strangulation with those physical findings? So, strangulation cases are very difficult because sometimes you're left in a situation where your main goal is just to fight the attempted murder case to avoid your client doing life, but then your client goes down on something like a 245, which is an assault with gross bodily injury. Or if the alleged victim was the initial aggressor, then you could potentially argue a self-defense case. Now, these are very sensitive topics, and they're very hard to put these cases in front of a jury, especially when the forensic nurse comes before the court with their big checklist and goes through everything that the victim suffered as a result of this strangulation. The sore throat, couldn't breathe, the unconsciousness, days and days of headaches, nausea, vomiting, urinating on themselves, defecating during the incident, petechial hemorrhaging in the mouth, severe, blood in the ears, blood coming out of the mouth. So there's a lot of things that go on in these types of cases. Your attorney needs to find all the things that weren't there in order to convince a jury that there was no specific intent to kill, not premeditated, not deliberate, not willful. I hope this helps. I hope none of you or your family ever have to be accused or be a victim of domestic violence. If you have, and if you know someone who's a victim of domestic violence, you can go ahead and call the domestic violence hotlines and get the help you need. If you've been accused of domestic violence, go ahead and give my firm a call. We're located here in downtown, beautiful, sunny San Diego. My firm is called Dod Law. We do 100% criminal defense. That's all we do. Like our channel, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell so you can get notifications anytime I put out a video. Thank you. Have a great day.